Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called 10 Things Humans Say You Need to Be Scared Of, written by FarmWitch4275. Glossary of Human Terminology and Phraseology. For the convenience of new members to the Galactic Confederacy. Forward. Welcome to the Galactic Confederacy. Before you begin your official duties or receive any assistance as needed, a short orientation period is necessary. However, in case of an emergency such as war, disaster, or other such circumstances, you will receive aid immediately. Regardless of circumstances, this document serves as a guide to the galaxy's most eccentric member, humans. Humanity were the creators of the Confederacy. Initially, they decided to try form a federation of states of sorts. But differences in galactic politics and resource logistics meant that system was not a viable option. So they created the Confederacy instead. We all operate under our own system of governance, with agreements for free trade and security for merchant fleets and pirates. Registration systems to prevent fraudsters and, as you probably know by now, a universal criminal registry to protect the galaxy against ne'er-do-wells. But one thing about humans, they're very eccentric, strange, unpredictable. Some might even say insane. Be that as it may, they have become an indispensable, immutable, unimaginably needed resource, and most would say friend within the galactic community. Also, for the most warmongering members of the galactic community, a fair warning. Humans have this thing where they have no sense of scale, no chill, and the engineering prowess to make this silliness a reality. They have bigger ships than you, more heavily armed ships than you, more ships than you in total, and they will splatter your face across the 16 vectors if you give them reason to. So, please don't. In any case, when it comes to humans, they have these phrases, words and humanisms that mean certain things in certain situations, things which when said mean certain things. This glossary will tell you what to do in the event of such things being said. Without further ado, here they are. Number 1. Hold my beer. Ultimately one of the most infamous phrases in human history. This phrase is often used when a human wishes to do something crazy or one-up another individual. This phrase is a human way of stating the fact that he or she can and will do better than the thing they just saw. This is generally considered a good thing, owing to varying circumstances. In the right circumstances, this can mean two engineers engaging in an interesting sparring match in which they are trying to beat each other in a build-off. This usually means the galaxy has another glorious innovation of technology, or a really big censored-off gun to use against the Confederacy's enemies. Or it could be used as a reason for you to drop everything and run. This is not an invitation for you to actually hold a human spear. Ask the counselor from the Homaris 4 who did that once. He regretted it. This is not an order for you to take the human spear from him. The great Maricus, the fifth from the Sonara sector, still has nightmares about that day. This is not an invitation for you to take the human spear and drink it, even in jest. You cannot ask the last guy who did that. He can no longer speak. Number 2. Don't worry about it. This is one of the most terrifying phrases a human can say. This usually happens when something bad is about to happen, is happening, or has happened. This phrase is uttered during, before, or after a disastrous event. This phrase was originally used by humans to lie to alien crew members in an attempt to calm or placate them in case of emergency. Then that human did something suicidally insane to stop the problem from being problematic, usually to their detriment and or death. When a human says to you, don't worry about it, the first and only thing you should do is worry about it. Then you are finished worrying about it, say your last goodbyes to that human. You are likely not going to see them again. At least not alive, anyway. The only good thing about this phrase, and its subsequent utterance, is that the problem it is in reference to, almost always, within a 98% margin, gets resolved, fixed, or finished. Number 3. Wood. This is undoubtedly the most dangerous thing a human can say, especially when they're looking at you, but not for the reason you think. But nowhere near as dangerous as the word will, but also not for the reason that you think. The reason for this is entirely due to humans and their breeding habits. Yes, exactly the opposite reason you think. Human reproduction is one of the most complicated systems ever discovered by sapient life. They have no off switch and will actively attempt, if possible, to bonk anything that tickles their fancy. Unlike most denizens of the galaxy, humans will engage in sexual activity for entertainment, and they have no seasonal fertility cycle. The good news is that humans themselves are quite delightful. They are, perhaps, the most appealing species to look at and be around. Natural body warmth, mammalian in nature, omnivorous with symmetrical features. Sounds nice, doesn't it? There are two ways to handle the situation when a human looks at you and says would. Option A, reciprocate and use the phrase I would too. This depends on if you like the human in question. Option B, as fast as you can ambulate, do so rapidly in any direction the human isn't. In short, run the hell away. Number 4, seemed like a good idea at the time. This phrase is usually uttered during the aftermath of an experiment gone wrong, a failure of engineering, or when a human builds an enormous weapon and it fails spectacularly, or performs so well it accidentally kills a god. And that last part did in fact happen. They did in fact accidentally kill a god. They promised they wouldn't do it again. Number 5. This'll just take a sec. A phrase that essentially means a task will take either a few minutes to a few days to complete. Again, one of those things that humans do to placate the people around them and calm everyone's fears down. The duration of the task can be, as stated, a few seconds or up to a few days, depending on everything. The human will often repeat this phrase during the task if you ever ask him how it's going, and regardless of duration will usually follow up by stating, "See, I told you it would only take a sec," even if it took several weeks. Number 6. This is going to hurt. A phrase used before a serious incident, when the human's capacity for momentary foresight and pattern recognition suddenly understand there's about to be a problem. Or when a human is about to do something stupid, like jump off a roof, chase a tornado, get in front of an avalanche, or do something dangerous. It depends on the situation, of course, but it can either mean the human who spoke it just warned you to take cover or retreat to safety, or is a cue for you to retrieve the first aid kit. Upon hearing this phrase, first consider the context, then do the following. Option A. If it's a stunt, a dangerous trick, or some other leisure activity, shrug your shoulders or analog thereof, and retrieve the first aid kit. The human will need it. Option B. If it's a dangerous situation like an industrial accident or some kind of explosive danger, run. Number 7. All that is certain in life is death and taxes. You don't really need to react when a human says this. We're just putting it here because, well, it's true, isn't it? Number 8. Hear me out. This phrase is often used by humans for the purpose of laying out their opinion on certain activities and political or religious standpoints. The sane ones do that anyway. The phrase "hear me out" when spoken by anyone other than the sane ones usually precludes the human doing one of the following activities: using a cannon in an attempt to deep fry poultry, using large quantities of gasoline in an attempt to light a campfire, using a railgun launch mechanism to deliver mail, using a starship's main Gauss cannon to carve out a smiley face on the surface of the moon, using explosives to heat up army ration packs, or other things of that nature. So be careful and consider present company when hearing this phrase. It could either be a reason for you to demand a cup of coffee as payment for a debate, or a reason for you to pray to the gods. Number 9. Don't push the red button. Human ships have the strange tradition of having a rather large, very obvious big red button somewhere on the ship. We've never understood why or how or even when this tradition started. But every single ship has somewhere in it a big, fat, glowing red button. Do not press this button unless explicitly directed to do so by a human. This button has been pressed accidentally or out of curiosity before. Bad things happened, such as enabling a nuclear warheads present on every human ship, activating an automated security protocol that exterminates all non-registered crew members, activating the self-destruct sequence, activating the blow-up-at-random star cannon, enabling a shield system that prevents anyone from leaving the ship, ever, enabling a time drive that jumps the ship to the 1970s for some reason. Again, this button does a whole massive host of things. It varies ship to ship, crew to crew, sometimes even engineer to engineer. There can be multiple buttons on a ship or just one very big button. We have no idea how or why these functions would even exist, let alone be installed inside a starship. But there they are, and that big red button controls those mechanisms. Please don't ask why. Not even they know. Number 10. I wonder if it tastes like chicken. This phrase is usually uttered when a human encounters an unusual alien food, or some kind of foodstuff or edible while exploring a planet. This is normal. Human brains function abnormally compared to the rest of the galaxy, and often will understand something by experiencing it first. This usually ends badly, but not the way you think. After numerous medical advances, humans can survive almost anything they ingest, save lethal chemicals like cyanide or expended nuclear fuel. Of course, they are intelligent enough to know not to do that. But it won't stop them from grabbing and munching on a random mushroom or berry off a bush. Humans usually carry a syringe around with them that allows them to get away with it. I wonder if it tastes like chicken is basically a human's way of saying, "Can I eat this?" and then attempting to compare the flavor, if any, to a certain poultry that exists on their home world, Earth. If a human says this, be prepared for copious quantities of vomiting, diarrhea, or gastrointestinal stress responses shortly before the human jabs themselves within the aforementioned syringe. We still don't know why, but when a human likes what they are eating, it's a sign that you've either stumbled on a new favorite foodstuff or something that'll make the human happy, but it'll make you explode. If a human ever offers you this, if you are there to witness it upon the human liking it, politely decline and state that you are on a diet. This will get them to back off. And that'll be for the orientation. There is a lot more, obviously, but outlining the some odd 2,000 phrases used by humans would result in this orientation pamphlet being the size of a large 700-page novel. We will let you get used to how things work on your own time. We had to. Now you do too. Welcome to the Galactic Confederacy, and we hope you are well. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.